a nation forged Nigeria's path to independence. Nigeria, a land of abundant resources and diverse cultures, carries a history both vibrant and turbulent. Its journey toward nationhood began under the long shadow of British colonial rule. The arbitrary borders drawn by the colonial administration encompassed a multitude of ethnic groups, each with its own distinct language, traditions, and aspirations. Despite their differences, these groups shared a common desire for self-determination, fueling the flames of the nationalist movement that ultimately led to Nigeria's independence in 1960. The promise of independence brought with it the daunting task of forging a united nation from a mosaic of diverse peoples. The euphoria of liberation was soon tempered by the realities of nation-building. Deep-seated ethnic and regional tensions, simmering beneath the surface, threatened the fragile unity of the newly independent nation. The struggle for power and resources, exacerbated by the colonial legacy of divide and rule, cast a long shadow over Nigeria's future. The early years of independence were marked by a delicate balancing act, as different political factions representing various ethnic groups vied for control of the newly formed government. The North, predominantly Muslim and less economically developed, held a numerical advantage in population. The South, more ethnically diverse and economically advanced due to its coastal location and access to resources like oil, sought to protect its interests. The stage was set for a clash of ideologies and ambitions, as the nation grappled with the challenges of building a cohesive national identity while addressing the complex needs of its diverse populace. The seeds of discord, sown in the soil of colonialism and nurtured by the struggle for power, threatened to unravel the fragile fabric of the newly independent nation. Cracks in the foundation seeds of discord in a new nation. Nigeria's first republic, born out of the optimism of independence, found itself navigating a treacherous landscape. The ethnic and regional divisions that had been simmering beneath the surface began to erupt, threatening the very foundation of the nation. The political climate grew increasingly charged as politicians, often exploiting ethnic sentiments for personal gain, further deepened the divides. The fragile peace was shattered in 1966 when a group of young military officers, predominantly Igbo, staged a coup, overthrowing the civilian government. The coup, while portrayed by its perpetrators as a necessary intervention to cleanse the system of corruption and mismanagement, was perceived by many in the North as an Igbo attempt to seize power, further exacerbating existing tensions. The counter-coup that followed, led by Northern officers, resulted in the assassination of the military head of state, General Aguiyi Ironsi, an Igbo, and unleashed a wave of violence against the Igbo population residing in northern Nigeria. Thousands of Igbos were massacred, forcing many to flee their homes and seek refuge in the eastern region, their traditional homeland. The violence sent shockwaves through the nation, leaving the newly independent country teetering on the brink of collapse. The dreams of unity and progress that had accompanied independence lay shattered, replaced by fear, suspicion, and the bitter reality of ethnic violence. The massacres of 1966 marked a turning point in Nigeria's history, sowing the seeds for a conflict that would come to define a generation.
In response to the violence and the perceived threat to our existence, the Eastern region declares its secession from Nigeria on May 30th, 1967. The new nation, christened Biafra, is born out of the ashes of violence and the desperate desire for self-preservation.
We must maintain the territorial integrity of Nigeria. Secession is an act of treason. I vow to crush this rebellion and bring the Eastern region back into the fold.
The massacres of 1966 left an indelible mark on the Igbo people, who felt deeply betrayed by the nation they had fought for alongside other ethnic groups. The violence, coupled with the perceived lack of protection or justice from the federal government, led many Igbos to believe that their safety and future lay in secession. This sentiment was further fueled by the memory of their cultural unity and the economic progress they had made in other parts of Nigeria, which they feared losing. The declaration of Biafra was met with resistance from the federal government of Nigeria, led by General Yakubu Gowon. Gowon, determined to maintain the territorial integrity of Nigeria, viewed secession as an act of treason. He vowed to crush the rebellion and bring the eastern region back into the fold, setting the stage for a bloody confrontation that would come to be known as the Nigerian Civil War, or the Biafran War. The birth of Biafra was a moment fraught with both hope and trepidation. For the Igbo people, it represented a beacon of hope, a chance to determine their own destiny and escape the cycle of violence. However, it also marked the beginning of a long and arduous struggle for survival, pitting a fledgling nation against the might of a determined federal government.
The blockade has left us with nothing. We are starving, and our children are dying. The world must see our suffering.
We are doing everything we can to get food and medical supplies into Biafra, but the blockade makes it almost impossible.
The images of starving Biafran children have shocked the world, sparking a global debate about the conflict and the humanitarian crisis unfolding in the region.
On July 6, 1967, war erupted between the forces of Nigeria and Biafra. The Nigerian government, determined to quell the secessionist movement and preserve the unity of the nation, launched a full-scale military offensive against Biafra. The Biafran people, though lacking the numerical strength and military hardware of the Nigerian army, mounted a fierce resistance, fueled by a deep-seated desire for self-determination and survival. The war quickly devolved into a humanitarian catastrophe. The Nigerian government, in an effort to cripple Biafra's ability to wage war, imposed a land and sea blockade on the fledgling nation. The blockade, while strategically effective, had a devastating impact on the civilian population of Biafra. Food, medicine, and other essential supplies were prevented from reaching those in need, leading to widespread famine and disease. Images of starving Biafran children with distended bellies shocked the world, galvanizing international attention and sparking a global debate about the conflict. The world watched in horror as the humanitarian crisis unfolded, with millions facing starvation and disease in the besieged region. The war raged on for almost 3 years, marked by brutal fighting, unimaginable suffering, and a staggering loss of life. The conflict, fueled by political ambitions, ethnic tensions, and the struggle for control of resources, left an indelible scar on the soul of Nigeria.